onto your seat.
Wow!
These Micro Machines are bigger. They're new Star Wars action fleet vehicles from Micro Machines, all action-sized. For more Luke Skywalker action.
X-Wing, X-Mode.
More Darth Vader action.
It's an air attack!
There to the max.
Later, Lord Vader!
The Star Wars action fleet with Rebel and Imperial forces all ready for battle. New action size for Star Wars adventures straight from the movies. New Micro Machines Star Wars action fleet vehicles with 2 action figures each sold separately. New from Galoob.
Alright, hey guys, and welcome back. This week I'm going to take a look at a super small series of Star Wars toys with Star Wars Action Fleet by Micro Machines. Everyone should be familiar with the magnificent micro-sized Micro Machines made by Galoob and made famous by the mile-a-minute motormouth John Macchiato Jr. But did you know not everything they made was super small? Sure, in 1995 they already had their successful run of their trademark miniature line of Star Wars vehicles and figures from their TV and movies line of toys, but in the summer of 1995, Galoob decided to scale up with the release of their brand new Star Wars Action Fleet series of Star Wars vehicles and figures. The vehicles stood anywhere from 3 to 5 inches tall and were between 1/28th to 1/72nd scale size. Each one came with their own display stand and 2 mini action figures you could put inside the vehicles. The vehicles were incredibly detailed and had their own unique action features. The first series release was the original trilogy of ships from 1995 to 1996 and had all of the ships you'd expect from the first 3 movies. From Luke's X-Wing to Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, almost every vehicle and figure from the movies were included. In 1997, they expanded on the line, so now you also got more appropriately sized micro-sized vehicles that came packaged with them to use in other playsets, along with the new Death Star and Ice Planet Hoth playsets. In 1998, they released ships from the Shadows of the Empire like Prince Zizor and his ship the Virago. In 1999, the Episode 1 line was released to coincide with the movie, including new vehicles like the MTT Droid Transport, the N-1 Naboo Starfighter, and even pod racers. In 2002, the original trilogy ships were re-released again, this time with gold-colored display stands, as well as ships from the Attack of the Clones, which did not sell well at all and are much harder to find. By 2004, with sales declining from lack of interest in the Attack of the Clones series, as well as the movie, the Action Fleet line was all but fizzled out and was finally discontinued.
Alright guys, now let's take a look at some of these Star Wars Action Fleet vehicles that I have in my collection. Now this was an awesome series of toys that came out right around 1995 that I collected growing up, and I had practically the entire series of all these vehicles. This is only a very, very small part of my collection that I rebuilt over the years. I picked these up at a flea market a couple of years ago, so it's kind of interesting to wonder if some of these were my originals, but regardless, they're super fun, super detailed. I believe they're 1/16 or 1/32nd size replicas of like the original Kenner and Power of the Force series of the large full-scale models of the vehicles. And they each come with 2 little figures, and some of them would actually come with these little miniature little vehicles, like this little mini TIE Fighter and a little mini X-Wing here. And they did let's see, they did the original line here, they did Shadows of the Empire, and then they also did for Episode 1. I don't know if they continued that throughout the prequels. I'm gonna say yes. I'm not sure if they continued this line, but I know they at least did for Episode 1, so they may have continued doing vehicles throughout the rest of the prequels, like Attack of the Clones and everything here. So like I said, I have 5 vehicles here. We have Darth Vader's TIE Fighter here on the left. We have Boba Fett's Slave 1. We have the Escape Pod, Luke's X-Wing, and a Y Fighter, or Y Bomber. So let's take a look at Darth Vader's TIE Fighter here first. And one thing I think that you'll notice that stands out with these is this nice little display stand. I think that makes it look really good. It has this chrome, some of them have the gold along the bottom, and you can see where it says Star Wars Action Fleet here. And let's get a nice little 360-degree look at Darth Vader's TIE Fighter here. And you can see these are very, very nicely detailed. We'll get a much closer look at that in just a second. And they're great because with these stands, like, you can just have a shelf full of these. And I mean, I had almost every single one. There was the Jawa Sandcrawler, the AT-STs, the AT-ATs, the Millennium Falcon. I mean, you name it. I mean, everything. There was like maybe only 2 or 3 out of the entire series, aside from the Shadows of the Empire, because I didn't know those existed. If I knew those existed, I would have got them. And the Episode 1 ones, I didn't really like the vehicles too much. I liked the movie just fine, but I wasn't a big fan of the vehicles. But of this main series encompassing the original trilogy, I had like 95 to 99% of all the vehicles, and I loved them. So let's take a more close-up look now here at Darth Vader's TIE Fighter here. And as you can see, the detail is really amazing. This is made of some very, very sturdy plastic here. A little dusty, but you have his cockpit window there. You have this little hatch on the top that opens up. That's where you put your little Darth Vader minifigure. And some really nice details on all like the little engine, components and stuff like that. Another look at the bottom. That's where the peg goes in for the stand. And the colors are really done really nice, really well. And there's this little thing in the back here where you can open up the engine to kind of like pretend that he's hit and damaged by the Millennium Falcon, which is kind of what I always did. Or you can just kind of pretend this is like, doing repairs, or he's going to warp drive. But what that also does is it kind of provides like a handle, so you can like, pretend like you're flying with it, and it makes it a little bit easier to hold. So you get a nice, better little close-up look at that. And then of course, what would Darth Vader's TIE Fighter be without Darth Vader himself? And he is in there. And man, oh man, as you would expect all Micro Machines stuff to be, look at that teeny tiny little Vader. And even he's really detailed. You can see like all the stuff on his chest for his different functions. The helmet looks good. No lightsaber, of course, because he's piloting his TIE Fighter. And then with this, he would have come with a second figure, because all of them come with 2 figures, so I'm not sure which one he's missing. Maybe Palpatine? Not sure. And then you put him in this little part of the display stand, and then you can display the figures. Let's see if we can get a better look at that. You can display the figures in the stand on your shelf. Oh no, Vader took a tumble. And then we'll go ahead and put him back in. This TIE Fighter here, it's ridiculous how small these figures are. Micro Machines always lives up to its name of everything being micro. My goodness. So there's Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, very awesome. Now this one I am missing a stand for. This is, of course, Boba Fett's Slave 1, and this one's one of my favorites because there's so much stuff going on with this. You have all the great colors and details of his original ship, although this is more of a Power of the Force kind of themed color variation, because the original one is much darker, so a little bit lighter in color here. But you have his 2 side foils that you can move depending on which way you want to fly, the Slave 1. So they move like that. And just a lot of great details with his cannons and everything, like on the back. This thing's super, super detailed. And what's really cool, of course, is, we can open this up. And let's get Boba Fett out of here. Now you can put him in one of 2 ways, since, of course, the Slave 1 can be flown either, vertically or horizontally. And so there is Boba Fett, and he's got his little blaster. He's really, really well done. Colors look perfect. He's got his missile backpack. And what an amazing amount of detail for such a super tiny figure. Looks fantastic, especially Boba Fett being one of my favorite Star Wars characters of all time. But check this out. You can pretend like he's in Cloud City, and you move these little blasters forward. Load Solo into the cargo bay. And this little thing opens up right here. So check that out. There's the cargo bay. And what do we have? You have the little floating canister that Solo was in. And you can see on the front, he's encased in carbonite. Oh no. But that's not all. Check this out. If we open this up like so, which is very hard to get open, we actually have Han as he was being encased in the testing facility in Cloud City. That's, you know, the pose that he was in when shh, and he gets frozen into carbonite. And then this is actually, you know, the whole, from the movie, it actually was the floating canister. Most people forget that it, you know, it's not just that front faceplate. So how cool is that? So there's your two figures for the for Boba Fett's ship, the Slave One. Very nice. So much detail, and I really love this little set. And then you can pretend like Boba Fett's ordering it to go back into the cargo bay. And somebody dropped it, of course. It's like, alright, you idiots, put him in the cargo hold. Don't drop him. And then we'll put him in this little seat. Close it. And he is off to Jabba's palace. So super cool. So let me stop for a minute and we'll take a look at these guys again. Now, I don't remember if all of them came with these little minifigures, but some of them I remember that I got, like with the Jawa Sandcrawler and stuff. There was like the Deluxe Action Fleet series, and some of them would come with these little tiny little Star Wars vehicles. And then these were kind of like, you could like pair them up with just like your regular Micro Machines vehicles instead of like the Action Fleet ones. And they even have a little peg, so they had their own little display stand. You could display these separately. So if you had the TIE Fighter, you'd have your little mini TIE Fighter that would go with. And then the X-Wing. And then that would go with your X-Wing. You could put that like next to it. So these are really cool. These are super fun. So a lot of detail, a lot of love really went into this series. And now let's take a look at the escape pod. This thing's really super tiny, even for this series. Appropriately sized stand. You have the carbon scoring marks as it was getting shot at and heading down to the surface of Tatooine. The rear engines and thrusters. The window on the side. Nice yellow and white coloration. Even the burn marks as it's like blasting off. Let's get a little bit more of a close-up look at this because it's so small. So really nice. And this was a nice little nod they didn't have to include because, I mean, who's going to remember the escape pod? I don't think everybody would have. And then we can open this. And then check this out. Who's inside? Of course, those darn two missing droids. So we got 3PO and R2-D2. So let's pop these little guys out right here. 3PO seems to be stuck. There we go, so we'll put the escape pod there, and you can see inside just the random mechanics and wires on the inside and stuff like that. And then here's your teeny tiny little R2-D2, which how cool looking is he? That looks fantastic. Really great paintwork on something so small. And then C-3PO. Odd that his eyes are red. That kind of reminds me of like The Last Jedi. You His eyes are not supposed to be red, so that's interesting there. And also he showed the one off-colored painted leg, but no matter. Very nice, very nice. We'll put them back inside. R2, where are you going? Alright, and now let's check out one of my other favorites here. Of course, that's going to be Luke's X-Wing. This is super cool. A lot of great detail here. The paint looks just the way that it should look. You have your blasters on the side. You have Luke inside of inside the X-Wing there. And yet another R2. We have a doppelganger R2 unit. And you got the engines on the back there. And really nice. This is just a really nice looking display. We can pop that off here and we'll take a look at it. This is with its X-foils closed. Really, really nice to scale X-Wing. And now what's cool about this too is you can put the landing gear down, so when it's off of the platform, it can still stand up. Whoops. And then what's neat about that too, we'll put that first one in, and then while he's flying around, you can grab a hold of the landing gear, and then open X-foils. X-Wing in attack mode. Very, very cool. So that's a neat little feature. I always feel like I'm going to break the landing gear when I squeeze it like that, but that's a neat little action feature that they put in there. And then, of course, we can open up the hatch here, and then we'll take Luke out. Let's get a look at him. That one landing gear does not want to stay down. There we go. And then here's Luke. In his Rebel X-Wing fighter uniform. And again, the paintwork looks really good, really nice. And I mean, especially for comparison, something that's barely the size of the tip of my thumb. I mean, that takes... That cannot be easy to get that level of detail, even if you have some little missed blurbs and stuff of paint here or there. Really looks good. We'll put him back in. Let's take a look at R2. And it'll probably look just the same as the other R2 unit, but there we go, all the same. There's the R2 that came with this series. Alright, let's put that back. I'll leave that with its foils open this time. Track the landing gear. And now this is something that I had with one of my original sets. And this is poor Owen Lars. He's missing his head after all these years, but I don't remember what set he would have came with. Maybe the like the Land Rover, I think. But he was definitely a part of this series. He's been in a better condition. And then here we have the Y-Wing, another one of my favorites. It's really hard to pick and choose. All these are so cool that they end up all being my favorites. And again, some really really nice detail. The little paint splotches, the engine nacelles, to borrow a Star Trek bit of terminology there. I like how they're clear. They look really nice with the engines, the orange wires and cables that go across the top. And then we have the blaster on the top there, as well as the two in the front. The little hatch opens, but this is missing... Well, that one kind of sticks. It is missing the pilot, unfortunately. I don't know where he was. This is how I got it. But we do have, instead of R2, we have a little R5 unit. Because most Y-Wings have R5-D4 astromech droids. So there we go, he's basically R2, but just orange and has a more square or hexagon-shaped head. I always loved R5. He was such a wacky little droid. There's not much about him aside from seeing him in the Y-Wings and with the Jawas, but still a neat little part of the lore. And then this doesn't have too many features. Get a nice up-close look there. Still looks great, fantastic detail, but all that it does is one of the little engine compartments open up here. And I'm not sure if that would have been to engage, like for them to drop their payload of like, you know, like their bombs when they're in battle, or just for like to show like battle damage, or for, you know, increasing their speed or whatever. So not too much going on there. And then again, this has the same thing, except nothing happens when you squeeze the landing gear on this. Nothing opens, but so that way, if you don't want to have it displayed on the stand, again, you can just prop it up like that, and it'll look just fine on its own. So another great addition. And also, like I said, this is one of the series that has the different colored Action Fleet logo. So this would have probably been a later series, I think. I think that would have gone by year, I'm not sure. Yeah, this is 96, that one's 95, so the gold series might have came out a little bit later with the different colors. I'll put him back on his stand there. Alright, and there we have it. So, thanks guys for tuning in today and checking out this review of one of my favorite Star Wars toy lines that I think is really a lot of times overlooked. Because Micro Machines, I don't know, they did a lot of good Star Wars toys, but most people think Kenner. They think that the Micro Machine stuff kind of gets forgotten about with all their different play sets. And this is so fun. I mean, if you're a Star Wars fan, why would you not want to have small versions of ships that you can display and don't take up a lot of room and are just super awesome in detail? They're great. So I hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at this cool line of the Star Wars Action Fleet series of Micro Machines Star Wars toys with me today, and I'll see you guys back here next time for yet another Star Wars review. Take care.
Hey guys, if you liked the video that you just watched, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below, and you can follow me at Facebook at King of Retro or Twitter at #8ByteBrian. See you next time.